Today we're talking about solving rational equations, and you can do this on these problems by cross multiplying. The only time that you can cross multiply is if you have one fraction on each side of the equal sign. If you have more than one fraction or number on each side of the equal sign, then you can't cross multiply. So if you look at example 1, it has to look like this. Okay? Extraneous solutions are what x cannot equal. If you have fractions, x cannot equal, or what is our issue with fractions? Good. Your denominator cannot equal 0. So before you start, you need to figure out what values for x can x not equal. Because sometimes you'll end up getting something that it can't equal as your answer, and that will not work. So if we set 5x equal to 0, what will x equal? Yeah, you divide by 5. And you get x equals 0. So one of my extraneous solutions, and that means that x cannot equal 0. And the other one is that x cannot equal what? Positive 7, because we go x minus 7 equals 0, add 7 to both sides, and we get x equals 7. So x cannot equal 0 or 7. So when I'm solving for x, if one of my answers is 0 or 7, I cross it out because it won't work. Do you understand what I'm saying? So when we solve this and we get our answers for x, you know how sometimes we'll get x's like 3, 5, 2. Well, if one of my answers was 0, 7, I'd cross it out because that will not work, because if that is it, you'd get 0 in the denominator. All right, so cross multiplying, okay? Cross multiplying. We write this as 3 times x minus 7 equals 5x times 2. Okay, then you'll distribute and solve. So when we distribute through here, we get 3x minus 21 equals 10x. And what will I do to solve? I would move the 3x. And we get negative 21 equals 7x. And then your last step is to divide by 7 to both sides. And what does x equal? Is that any of my extraneous solutions? No. So that works. That is my answer. Questions? Okay, example 2. First thing, let's figure out what the extraneous solutions are. We find the extraneous solutions by doing what? Good. Setting your denominators equal to 0. So one of my extraneous solutions is negative 1. So x cannot equal negative 1. And if I set 4x plus 5 equals 0, subtract 5 to both sides, we have 4x equals negative 5. And last, you would divide by 4. So the other value is negative 5 over 4. Okay, so now we are going to cross multiply. How do I do this? Three times 4x plus 5 equals, very good, 9 times x plus 1. We will distribute. We get 12x plus 15 equals 9x plus 9. Then we solve. What do I do to solve? Okay, subtract 9x to both sides. If you want to at the same time, I'm going to go ahead and subtract 15. So I end up getting 3x equals negative 6. We divide by 3, and we get x equals negative 2. Does that match any of my extraneous solutions? No. So I'm good. There's my answer. Any questions? Okay. Example 3. I'm going to have you try this one on your own. When you get the answers, you can write them on your whiteboards. So in this one, you may have to end up factoring, because I think you get an x squared term. Remember, when you factor, you want to set it equal to 0.
I got something different.
Some of you may have forgotten to take a GCF out when you're factoring. Dilly, good job. Good. Perfect. You're not doing over and under. If you can take out a GCF, you have to take out a GCF. Perfect. Yes, good. Okay, the correct answer should have been 4 and -1. When you set your denominators equal to 0, you should have found that x cannot equal -5/2 or -8/11. When you cross multiplied, we get 1 times 11x plus 8 equals x times 2x plus 5. When you distribute and multiply, we get 11x plus 8 equals 2x squared plus 5x. We want our x squared to be positive, so I'm going to move everything to the right. So I'm subtracting 11x, and I'm subtracting 8 because it has to be set equal to 0, and our x squared to be positive. So we get 2x squared minus 6x minus 8 equals 0. When you're factoring, you always check for a GCF first. There's a GCF of 2. So you have 2, and then I get x squared minus 3x minus 4 equals 0. Bless you. When we factor this, what numbers multiply to be -4 and add to be -3? A -4 and a +1. When you set each of those equal to 0, 2 equals 0 doesn't work. X minus 4 equals 0 makes x equals 4, and x plus 2 equals 0, or sorry, x plus 1 equals 0 makes -1. Do any of those match my extraneous solutions? No, so I'm good. That is my answer. Are there questions? How many of you got it right? Outstanding. Okay. How do I find my extraneous solutions on example 4? You have to factor. Okay, this bottom, what does it factor to be? Okay, and when you set those x minus 3's equal to 0, what does x equal? 3. So x cannot equal 3. What will I do here? Take out a GCF of x, and we get x minus 3. So what two values can x not equal on this one? 3 and 0. So I only have to add a 0 for my extraneous solutions. So far so good on that? Are we all okay? So all we're doing is setting our denominators equal to 0, and we had a factor, and we figured out which values x cannot equal. What is my next step now? Good, cross multiply. So I have 9 times x squared minus 3x equals, and I have 3x times x squared minus 6x plus 9. Do you think it matters which one is written on which side? No, as long as you're multiplying the same two diagonals together. So next I'll distribute this 9 through, and I get 9x squared minus 27x equals, we distribute the 3x through, and we get 3x cubed minus 18x squared plus 27x. Are we good? Which way will I want to move everything? To the right. Y to the right. That and your highest exponent has to be a positive number. So highest exponent is x cubed, so we want that number to be positive, and it is right now. So we're going to subtract 9x squared, and we're going to add 27x. Okay, so when I do that, I have 3x to the third power. Negative 18 and negative 9 makes, good, negative 27x squared. And then 27 plus 27 is 54x equals 0. Okay, so we need a factor. When you factor, you should always check for what first? Is there a GCF? What is it? 3x. I can take out a 3x out of every single term. When I do that, what am I left with? X squared minus 9x. 3 goes into 54 18 times, plus 18 equals 0. Now we need to try to factor this further. Are there any numbers that multiply to be 18 and add to be negative 9? Good. X minus 3 and x minus 6. These both add to be negative 9 and multiply to be the positive 18. When we set these equal to 0, 3x equals 0 will be x equals 0. Good. Here we get x equals 3, and here we get x equals. Do any of these match my extraneous solutions? Yeah. 3 matches and 0 matches. Those cannot be answers. So what is my only answer here? X equals 6 is correct. Questions?